Roll one, scene one, take one. Action. Well, now we're going to have a little demonstration on emergency kit that I usually carry on my boats with me on most river trips. This happens to be a Harbor Freight welding rod case that you can get for about $6 around there somewhere at, like I said, at Harbor Freight. They're watertight. Around the outside, if you notice, there's 50 feet of paracord, which comes in, may come in useful in an emergency situation. So I have that wrapped around and then just secure it at the ends with some hot glue. So this will come right out if you ever need it. So basically, what I do is unscrew it, and magically out comes a whole bunch of stuff that you can use in an emergency. Basically, I have my face shield in case I have to perform any CPR. You don't want your mouth on top of their mouth if you can help it, especially if they're puking all over the place. So I keep that handy, usually right up on top. And then I'll have some couple of hand warmers, those little hot packs. Keep that. And of course I got about 50 feet of good old duct tape. That all goes to come in handy if you get a hole in your boat or a hole in you. It works good for patching a boat and patching you. Next thing comes out is I have a couple Band-Aids in there. This is not to replace a first aid kit, of course. That comes at a later time, which we will discuss. And but I do have some basic first aid stuff: a Band-Aid, some second skin for burns, and have an emergency signal mirror, which will come in handy for signaling aircraft or helicopters or whatever, in case they're looking for you. I always carry one of these with me. Of course, strike anywhere matches in a waterproof match case, along with a waterproof striker. Can never have too many fire starters. And to help you along with fire starting is these little artificial tinder packets that'll help you start a fire very fast, even if it's wet. Then I usually carry along with my whistle on my life jacket. I carry a whistle with a little compass in it. Comes in handy, and it actually has a thermometer in the back of it. Whistles are good because you can whistle a lot louder and for a lot longer time than you can do with just yelling. If you notice, I also have cable ties. Cable ties can come in extremely useful in a wilderness situation, an emergency situation, I should say. So I always carry half a dozen of those. Let's see what we got here. I also have more matches in a watertight container. These are strike anywhere matches. And if you notice inside, and I'll take the whole thing apart, but basically not only matches, but I also have these little relighting party candles. I got this idea from Dave Miller. You can blow these out, or wind can blow them out, and they'll start right back up on you again, like little candles. So I got them usually inside one of my match containers. Okay. And then we have one of these battery-operated chemical sticks without the chemicals. So it's a flashlight. It's also a marker. And if you notice on the outside, wrapped around it is dental floss. Dental floss can act like very, very strong thread if you need it, or fishing line if you need it. Next to come out is a magnesium stick. All you do is basically hit it with a piece of steel, the back of your knife, or whatever, or even a rock, and it'll shoot a spark, which will start your tinder up. You don't need matches. Then I have my emergency water purifying tablets. I always carry those things. You never know. I'll come down with a bunch of nasties. And this is part 2. This makes the iodine a little less tasteful. Just sort of neutralizes the taste of the iodine. Then I have little tea candles. These come in really handy for starting fires, and also for having a little light when you need it. Next thing I have is another fire starter, which basically is almost like a little lighter, but it also has these tinders that shoot a spark, and the tinders will light. And that's all in a watertight container. Then I have my trusty old space blanket. Never know when you're going to need these things. They can keep you warm if you get wet, or if you have to spend the night outside. It almost works like a little sleeping bag. And next comes, yes, a little mini sleeping bag, a bivy sack. It's made for one person. They have them made for 2, and they will keep you dry. I don't want to take this apart because it's a pain in the neck to put back in the case again, but it works like a mini waterproof sleeping bag. And that's about it for my emergency ditch kit. Next we will be doing the first aid kit that I always bring.